Most people will tell you your birth month is a trivia fact, a square you tick on a form, a placeholder in a calendar. But what if it is something subtler and stranger? What if the story of the sky, the color of the mornings, the texture of the air, and the cultural rhythms into which you arrived left a fingerprint on your psychology? Not fate, not superstition, a weather pattern. Jung would call it an image, an invisible pattern that shows up in dreams, in choices, in the way your body leans toward beginnings and endings. Tonight we're going to unwrap that image and make it useful. And yes, by the time we finish, you may feel as though the month printed on your birth certificate has been quietly shaping the way you approach love, risk, work, and meaning. Here is our path. I'll give you a simple Jungian frame and a grounded way to think about time. I'll invite you to explore the symbolic season carried by your month of arrival. Whether you were born in the cold edge of January, the fire of August, the long shadow of November, or any point in between. If you're in the southern hemisphere, we'll translate the symbolism to your seasons. If your culture's calendar flows differently, we'll honor that too. The core idea is this: you arrived into a particular climate of light, feeling, and story, and that climate left an imprint on your sense of timing. Your month is not your destiny. It's your earliest teacher of when to move and when to wait. And when you understand that teacher, you stop fighting time and start collaborating with it. If you're new here, welcome to Deep Psyche Lab. I'm glad you're with us. This channel explores depth psychology, Jung's language of symbols, archetypes, and the unconscious, in a way that stays practical and human. If you love conversation that treats the soul like a landscape instead of a problem, you're in the right place. Please subscribe to Deep Psyche Lab and tap the bell so you never miss an episode. It really helps the channel. And as you settle in, I'd love for you to write a simple phrase in the comments to set your intention for tonight. I am ready to live my month consciously. Seeing it there isn't just an algorithm boost. It's a commitment to yourself. Let's ground the concept. Jung talked about the collective unconscious, the shared layer of images and patterns that live underneath our individual stories. Think of it as the library of human experience that your personal life quotes from. He also spoke of archetypes, recurring patterns like the mother, the hero, the wise old one, the trickster. Archetypes are not fixed characters. They are energies, shapes of movement. They are the deep verbs of the human story. Now imagine that the year itself is an archetypal circle, a mandala of 12 gates. Each gate feels different in the body, in the world, in the way a city sounds at dawn. Even if you live indoors, you can't fully escape the change in light, in holidays, in habits. The nervous system is rhythmic. The culture is rhythmic. You arrived while one of those gates was open. We know the body reads light. Circadian rhythms tune to daylight and darkness. Infants learn safety and expectation from the predictability of caretakers in the shape of daily cycles. None of this becomes your fate, but it is the first drumbeat you learn to dance to. That means your psyche may carry an implicit timing code. You might be a January soul who trusts structure and crisp beginnings, or you might be an April soul who believes breakthroughs arrive with mud on their boots. A July soul may sense that nourishment is a form of wisdom. A November soul may be comfortable reading thresholds and endings. These are hypotheses, not verdicts. Depth psychology is not the business of telling you who you are. It's the art of giving you a mirror vivid enough that you can see your own face. I'll go month by month in a moment, but first a note about hemispheres and culture. If you were born in the southern hemisphere, flip the seasonal imagery 6 months. A January in London is winter. A January in Cape Town is high summer. The month carries both the literal season and the collective story around it, and both matter. If your culture observes a lunar calendar or a different holiday cadence, read your month's symbolism through the cultural weather you were born into. Our task is to identify your first season, the atmosphere of your arrival, and to translate its qualities into psychological language. January asks for crispness. Think of frost outlining a window pane or a ledger open to a clean page. In many places, January is the world exhaling after celebration. The archetype that knocks here is the architect, the part of you that trusts plans, not because you want to control life, but because structure frees attention. The gift that often shows up in January-born people is a profound respect for thresholds. You sense that endings and beginnings belong to each other. Your talent is to take a scattered intention and give it a room to live in. The shadow, of course, is rigidity. You might tighten when vulnerability asks to enter. You might try to solve grief with a spreadsheet. The task is to keep the window clean without turning it into a wall. If you were born in a climate where January is summer, keep the architect, but imagine it with sandals on. Structure that breathes, plans that include rest, architecture that leaves courtyards for laughter. February brings the tender rebel. The world is still winter in the north, but to many traditions, this is a month of hidden thaw, a whisper that light is returning. In the south, it is late summer's long, lazy exhale. Psychologically, February carries the archetype of the lantern bearer, the one who keeps a small light alive. You may be gifted at alternative routes, at asking, what if we tried it this way? You care about essence over appearance. The shadow is isolation or cynicism. When people don't see your quiet light, you might pull away. Your growth is to let your lantern be seen without explaining it. Let your ideas land in a room before you judge whether anyone will care. If you were born under a February sun in the southern hemisphere, your lantern bearer may glow from a hammock rather than a cave. Don't confuse ease with apathy. Your ease is a wisdom about energy. March is the hinge. Snowmelt courses under ice. In other places, the rains arrive and everything smells like earth. This is the month of the threshold walker, the one who senses transformation like a scent. If you're a March soul, you probably understand paradox. You feel newness and grief at the same time and know they belong. The gift is intuitive courage, not heroics for their own sake, but the kind that takes a step because the step feels alive. The shadow is agitation disguised as momentum. You may start many things to avoid the stillness where your fear lives. Your task is to let the river move without throwing yourself into every current. If March means harvest or late summer for you, your threshold walker may express as ripeness rather than thaw. Trust your ability to gather what is ready and to leave what needs more sun. April is a shout. Buds crack. Ground splits. Wherever you are, this month tends to carry the music of first fire. The archetype here is the initiate, a raw, honest energy that rushes to meet life. April-born people often trust beginnings with a physical joy. You might be the one who says, "Let's do it," before the room has decided if it has a name. The gift is propulsion. The shadow is impatience, or the fantasy that beginning equals completion. April asks you to honor your fierce, holy yes, and also to befriend the long arc of making and mending. If your April is autumn, watch how your initiate honors letting go. Some doors you burst through and some you close yourself by hand with thanks. May is the gardener of the year. The world settles into growth, or in an autumn hemisphere, into a steady cooling and gathering. The archetype is the steward, the one who nourishes. May souls are good at tending, at knowing that devotion is not glamorous, but it is powerful. You likely recognize that what you feed grows, and you will feed what you love. The shadow is overcare, the kind that turns love into vigilance, and vigilance into exhaustion. Your task is to let your devotion include you. Practice boundaries as a form of watering, not offense against joy. If your May leans toward late autumn, your stewardship might savor storage and reflection. You are the one who knows how to keep a flame warm through a long night. June carries the laughter of thresholds crossed. In many places, it's the start of true summer. In others, the first deepening toward winter. The archetype is the host. June-born people often create spaces where others feel safe to play and honest enough to speak. You intuit the etiquette of belonging. The shadow is performance. You may smile when your heart needs to storm, or host as a way of hiding. The task is to let hospitality start at home in your own nervous system. Let your parties include pockets of quiet. If your June is winter, your host becomes a hearthkeeper. Intimacy, not spectacle, is your genius. July feels like sun-warmed stone and long afternoons, or like a deepening winter that teaches the language of silence. The archetype is the nourisher. July souls carry a calm authority that says, "You are safe here." The gift is emotional stamina, an ability to show up again and again without rushing the process. The shadow is absorption, taking on what isn't yours, confusing love with carrying. The task is to distinguish compassion from fusion. If July is your winter, you know the sacredness of stew, of story told in low light. You teach that rest can be a form of courage. August crackles. Harvests approach or late winter bites with a final clarity. The archetype is the sovereign. August-born people understand dignity, not as status, but as integrity that doesn't fold when pressured. Your gift is to bless effort and to call forth excellence in others without shaming them. The shadow is pride's brittle armor, a reluctance to be taught or the temptation to confuse centrality with worth. Your task is to practice what Jung called the tension of the opposites. Hold your authority in one hand and your learner's heart in the other. If August is your winter's end, your sovereignty is austere and clear. You know how to cut what is unnecessary, so the necessary can breathe. September arrives with sharpened pencils or the first whisper of spring. The archetype is the artisan. September's souls love the craft of things, the way attention turns effort into beauty. The gift is discernment. You can tell when something needs one more pass. The shadow is perfectionism that starves joy. Your task is to love the path as much as the outcome. The world doesn't only need finished masterpieces, it needs living processes. If your September is spring, your artistry is playful. Less perfect this, and more, let's see what happens if. October is thresholds again, but now the light slants differently. Leaves burn or the air unknots into warmth. The archetype is the story keeper. October-born people read symbolism easily. You know when a conversation is really about loyalty, when a conflict is really about grief. The gift is meaning-making that heals. The shadow is nostalgia that becomes a museum for your pain or a reluctance to let a dying thing die. Your task is to let stories open doors rather than lock them. If October is spring where you were born, your story keeper keeps a playful archive. You remix traditions without apology. November is the miner with a lamp. In many cultures, this is a month of honoring the dead, of facing the honest chill. In others, it is late spring's wild growth that refuses to apologize for being alive. The archetype is the alchemist. November souls aren't afraid of the basement where the good stuff hides. Your gift is transmutation. You can turn raw experience into wisdom. The shadow is brooding without movement or a relationship with intensity that mistakes turbulence for truth. Your task is to let your lamp light a path, not just a pit. If November is spring for you, your alchemy looks like transformation through blooming. You teach that joy, too, is a form of depth. December gathers us. Lights appear against dark or the year leans into high summer's amplitude. The archetype is the pilgrim. December-born people sense cycles and carry an instinct for ritual. You know how to mark things so your life doesn't blur into a series of errands. The gift is perspective, the ability to step outside your drama and remember what matters. The shadow is avoidance disguised as wisdom or sentimentality that never risks engagement. Your task is to let ritual send you back into life braver than before. If December is summer for you, your pilgrim walks under a vast sky. Movement and celebration become your sacraments. Pause and take that in. If one of these paragraphs felt uncomfortably accurate, you're not busted. You've located a road. If your month didn't feel like you at all, try translating the imagery back through your specific landscape and family culture. Were you born during monsoon or dry season, festival or fasting, sowing or harvest? Were you born into a house where the season was celebrated or feared? The psyche remembers atmosphere. When Jung spoke of synchronicity, he meant meaningful coincidence, a pattern whose significance arises from its timing rather than its cause. Your birth month, read symbolically, is a stable synchronicity. Its meaning depends on what you do with it now. Let's make this practical. Think back to the first time you remember noticing time. Maybe it was the long afternoon light when you learned to ride a bike, or the smell of dust after a storm on a night your parents argued, or the hum of a heater in a small apartment when a sibling was born. Your body has a calendar made of senses. The easiest way to meet your month is through what I'll call memory, body, and symbol. Memory is your earliest picture. What did time feel like when you were small? Body is your current rhythm. When do you naturally surge? When do you truly rest? Symbol is the image that keeps visiting. A threshold, a bowl, a path, a flame, a lamp. You don't need a list to do this. Simply notice over the next day what your attention keeps returning to when you hear the name of your month. Then ask what that image wants to teach you about timing. If you're a January architect, maybe this is the year you create a structure that protects your tenderness instead of your productivity. You might design mornings that are gentler, not simply efficient. If you're a February lantern bearer, consider one idea you've kept private and carry it into a conversation with someone who can receive it. Let the experiment be small and honest. If you're a March threshold walker, choose one threshold to cross deliberately. Don't sprint across 10 so you don't have to feel the fear of the one that actually matters. April initiates can aim their fire. Pick a direction where you're willing to become a beginner again. May stewards can shift from rescuing to resourcing. Ask what would multiply your care rather than drain it. June hosts can practice being hosted. Let someone else set the table and experience how belonging feels from the guest's chair. July nourishers can release what they've been carrying that doesn't belong to them. Love does not require a hunchback. August sovereigns can ask for counsel. Authority is not the enemy of humility. September, artisans can honor the draft. The first version is not proof of failure, it's evidence of courage. October story keepers can let one story end. The meaning doesn't die just because the chapter closes. November. Alchemists can locate joy not as a break from depth, but as a solvent that helps it move. December. Pilgrims can choose one ritual that sends them back into the world with more aliveness, not less. Notice none of this depends on external events. Jung's idea of individuation, the process of becoming who you are, looks less like a ladder and more like a spiral. You circle the same themes with more honesty and less fear until your life feels like your life. Your month's archetype is a compass point, not a program. You're not stuck with it. You're in relationship with it. That relationship can warm into wisdom. What about skeptics? You might say, but this feels like astrology with better vocabulary. I hear you. The difference is that we're not projecting planets into your decisions. We're honoring the psychobiological and cultural environment into which your nervous system took its first notes. We're using seasonality and symbol as a way to speak with your unconscious. Humans everywhere have encoded time with meaning. Plantings and fastings, festivals and watch nights, New Year fires and first fruits, rites for the dead and rites for the harvest. If you strip that out because you fear superstition, you also strip out a potent grammar for the soul. You don't have to believe in anything mystical to try this. You just have to be curious about the pattern that keeps repeating in your timing. Let me offer a small case story. A client, let's call her Mara, was born in late October in the Northern Hemisphere. She carried a deep, almost private relationship with symbols, old photos, marked up books, the feeling of standing at a window at dusk. She was brilliant at naming the meaning of other people's experiences, but she kept returning to relationships that felt haunted. We talked about her month's storykeeper energy. She realized she was more faithful to the idea of a partner than to the person himself. She was dating her own nostalgia. When she let a particular story end, without burning the archive, she could feel October's real gift return. The ability to build bridges of meaning that stay alive because they are honest. Another client, born in January under a Southern Hemisphere sun, had mistaken structure for safety. His architect was rigid and solar. He performed competence so intensely he never tasted belonging. When he reimagined January as summer, structure with breath, scaffolding with shade, he rebuilt his routines to include unproductive time. The result wasn't laziness. It was music. His relationship softened because he did. Here's a gentle interruption. If this episode is speaking to you, please take a second to like the video. It helps others find this work. And if you're not yet subscribed, join us here at Deep Psyche Lab. We publish episodes designed to help you think more symbolically, love more bravely, and live more rhythmically. Now let's go one level deeper. Each archetype has an initiation, an ordeal that teaches it the virtue it claims to love. The architect says it loves clarity, and then life delivers ambiguity. The lantern bearer says it loves quiet vision, and then life asks it to risk visibility. The threshold. Walker says it loves change, and then life asks it to stay long enough to metabolize the change. The initiate says it loves beginnings, and then life asks it to finish. The steward says it loves care, and then life asks it to stop controlling. The host says it loves belonging, and then life asks it to be the one who needs help. The nourisher says it loves presence, and then life asks it to let go. The sovereign says it loves responsibility, and then life asks it to play. The artisan says it loves craft, and then life asks it to publish the imperfect. The storykeeper says it loves meaning, and then life asks it to forgive the past. The alchemist says it loves transformation, and then life asks it to stop stirring the pot and let it settle. The pilgrim says it loves the journey, and then life asks it to arrive and actually live there. If you know which ordeal belongs to your month, you can stop arguing with it and start apprenticing to it. Another way to meet your month is through dream work. Jung called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. In my experience, people with strong March or November signatures dream vividly of thresholds, water, doors, stairwells, airports, while May and July often dream of kitchens, gardens, or rooms with soft light. August and January might dream in architecture, bridges, towers, maps, while April can dream of fire and wind, engines revving, trains leaving. October dreams are cinematic, full of letters and old keys. September dreams of hands working, knots, stitches, gears. June dreams of tables and arrivals. February dreams are starry and small, a candle that refuses to go out, a fox crossing a night road. December dreams of roads and circles, of being guided with a lantern. None of this is a rule, it is a language. If a dream lands with a thud of recognition, that is your season speaking. Ask it what it wants from you. Relationships, too, have timing. You have probably felt the pain of being in love with someone whose season moves at a radically different pace. A January architect dating an April initiate can feel like a quiet library dating a fireworks display. It can be beautiful if both know what they bring. A room for ideas to mature, a spark to start the experiment. A November alchemist with a June host can be deep transformation meeting, gentle welcome. If they don't consciously honor each other's gifts, the alchemist might judge the host as shallow, while the host might experience the alchemist as heavy. Knowing your month gives language to your need without turning it into a weapon. You can say, "My season wants to slow this down," or "My season wants one brave leap," and now you're collaborating instead of pathologizing. Career and creativity also bend to timing. If you carry a September artisan, you might structure your projects as craft cycles, draft, feedback, refine, rather than as sprints. If you carry an August sovereign, you might do your best work when you claim a domain and bless others' contributions openly. A February lantern bearer might be the perfect person to initiate a quiet innovation inside a system that says, "We've always done it this way." A March threshold. Walker might excel in roles that require shepherding teams through change. Again, this isn't destiny. It's a way to feel when your engine is in the right gear. Let's return to the body. Your nervous system learned the world through your caregivers' faces and hands, through the time of day you were rocked, the festivals you were taken to, the quiet you were given or denied. It learned the world through heat and cold. That means you can reparent your timing. If you're an April soul who learned that your fire scared people, you can create safe containers for your ignition. Projects where you start small on purpose and celebrate the spark. If you're a December pilgrim who learned that ritual meant obligation, you can craft rituals that feel like permission slips. A walk at dusk that says, "Enough for today." A weekly coffee where you put your phone face down and actually look at the person you love. The month, the season is not just history, it can be medicine. You might ask, what if I was born between months? The calendar is arbitrary, the season continuous. If your birthday sits on a cusp, embrace both archetypes as a conversation. A late March soul may feel April knocking, a January at the end may feel February's candle. Let them talk. One may describe your public timing and the other your private timing. One might govern your work and the other your relationships. What matters is not accuracy, it is intimacy. Intimacy with your own time is a rare and holy thing. I'll give you a simple practice to carry into this week. On your next morning, before you look at your phone, say your month out loud, then say the verb it gives you. January might be build, February, tend the light, March, cross, April, ignite, May, nourish, June, welcome, July, sustain, August, bless, September, shape, October, honor, November, transform, December, return, pica, the one that hums in your bones. Then choose a single action that obeys that verb, not a plan for the rest of your life. A single action that respects your timing. The psyche responds to gestures the way a forest responds to rain. Let me speak to those who feel out of season. Maybe you were born in July, but your childhood felt like January. Cold, structured, strict. Or you were born in November, but your family forbade emotion. So you lived on the bright surface of June, smiling through everything. It's okay to have learned survival in a borrowed climate. The work now is to find your original weather and bring it home carefully. Start with small exposures. If you are a July soul who has never been fed, feed yourself in a way that does not ask permission. If you're a November soul who has been punished for depth, find one friend who can breathe underwater with you and schedule a conversation that has no agenda but truth. As we move toward closing, I want to leave you with Jung's insight that the psyche does not grow by addition but by relation. Your birth month is not a resume line. It is a relationship. If you befriend it, it will keep handing you exactly the lessons that ripen you. If you ignore it, it will keep tugging on your sleeve until you turn around. We are not machines grinding through a productivity calendar. We are gardens with weather. When you start to trust that, your life stops feeling like an argument with the clock and starts feeling like a collaboration with time. If you felt a thread of recognition tonight, I invite you to claim it below. Leave a comment with the phrase, "I am living my month awake," and tell us your month's verb. I read these, and I promise your words help others find theirs. If this spoke to you, please like the video. It takes a second and it truly supports the work. Subscribe to Deep Psyche Lab for more deep mind stories and practical symbolic tools, and tap the bell to be notified when we publish. We're building a community of people who would rather be real than impressive, and who know the soul prefers rhythms to rules. Before I go, a gentle reminder, this channel is educational and not a substitute for therapy. If the themes we touched stir pain that deserves professional care, that is not a failure. It is a devotion to your life. Therapy can be the most courageous ritual you ever choose. Let's close on one clear line you can carry into tomorrow. Your birth month is not your fate. It is your first teacher of time. Learn its lesson, and your days will begin to move in the shape of your soul. Thank you for being here with me at Deep Psyche Lab. I'll meet you in the comments and in the quiet moments of your week when you speak your month's verb and feel the air answer back.